Creating eye-catching, engaging hero sections for a website is often a challenge. Today I'm going to show you a couple of simple techniques, including how we can use video to make something a little bit more engaging. Now, if you're new here, my name is Paul C. I've been a web designer and an online educator for over 20 years. So let's take a look at what we're going to create and see the tools we're going to use to create it. So this is the example that we're going to be using today. As you can see, we've got our call to action, our download option. We also have this video. We've got a mesh gradient in the background. We've got rounded corners. We've got drop shadow. All these kinds of things can make something look a lot more polished and a lot more professional. And once you understand how to achieve this, it's actually quite simple. Now for this video, we're going to be using Bricks Builder, but you can use any kind of tool that allows you to create custom CSS, insert videos, and have those kinds of controls. So don't think you're limited to only working inside Bricks. So the first thing we're going to need to do is actually create the video. Now I'm going to use some screen capture for this. You can use whatever technique you like. The whole process is fundamentally the same. The key thing to bear in mind here is when you're creating the video is to kind of limit the amount of movement that you've got, so then you can maximize the ability to have a really low frame rate. This allows you to keep those video files nice and small. So first of all, let's grab a screenshot. So I'm going to just do a screen grab of Framer's homepage. That'll do. We'll copy that from here. For our example, we're going to be using the free platform called Shots.so. Video here if you want to check out what this is all about. And we're simply going to do a screen recording of me actually interacting with the software. So we're going to need some kind of screen capture. Now I'm going to use CleanShotX for this, which is a Mac app, but there's tons of ways you can do this on a PC, anything you want. So let's just go on and capture that video. So for this example, we're going to grab the entire screen. So we're going to press space and we're going to record our video. So we're just going to keep this super simple. And once you captured your video, we're simply going to stop this. And now we have our video. So I can save that. And if I need to encode that to make it smaller, I can do that. I'm not going to go through all the process here. It's a little bit pointless. You're going to be using different tools to me. So now we've got our video captured. Let's jump into Bricks and start creating the layout that we can insert the video into. So we're into Bricks and we've created a new blank page ready to start working. So first thing we need to do is just insert our section and our first container. So we'll choose the section from here. We'll select our section and come over into the style, into our layout setting, and we're going to set our minimum height in this example to 1000 pixels. You can see now that we've got our container sitting pretty much at the top. We need this to be at the bottom for our video. So again, making sure a section is selected. We're going to come into our content. We're going to position this at the bottom. And you can see we've got it at the bottom. We still have that padding. We need to deal with that. So again, we're going to come into our style. We're going to set our bottom to 0, and now that sits perfectly flush at the bottom of this section. This section is what we're going to use to house all of our content. So the first thing I want to do is set the background color of this. So we're going to come into our background section and we're going to set this to a nice dark color. There we go. Next up, I want to create this mesh gradient that's going to apply to this to give it a little bit of color and allow us to kind of create some sense of depth. To use that, we're going to create a custom mesh gradient using the free Mesher. Link in the description. So we're going to get rid of all of these colors from here just to start off with. And we're going to just open this first one up. We're going to set this to be a nice deep purple color. Something like this. That looks pretty good. I'm going to copy that from here and paste that into the second one as well, because I want to be able to position these to give us a nice spread across what we're going to do. So we'll paste that inside there. Now you'll notice we get this red background. So the first thing we need to do is come into our background color and set our background color to be the same as the background for our website, which is pretty much black. Okay, so now we can start to customize this. So let's grab these purple sections, bring these down right to the bottom, like so, to give us a nice bit of fall off on the sides. Obviously you can set this up any way that you want to. Let's bring in a different color now. So let's add another one. And this time we're going to set this to be a kind of orangey color. So again, let's just choose our colors from here. Grab a color I think works well. We're going to drop the opacity right down on this. And we're going to position this sort of off to the side a little bit like that. There we go. Now this is my preference, so don't worry too much about this. You can get creative. Let's hit export. There's our CSS code. So what we need to do is copy that to our clipboard. We'll hop back over into Bricks Builder, and now we can set our background. So again, making sure a section is selected. We're going to come over into our CSS section. We're We're going to drop in root so we can target the overall section itself, and we're going to paste that little bit of code in. Now we've got our gradient background in place. All pretty simple. And like I say, if you're using something like Elementor, you can do the same thing into the custom CSS inside there. So all of this is exactly the same. Okay, so next up, we need to actually get the video in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to our container, making sure that's selected. We're going to hop over. We're going to add in a video. So let's search for video. Add that into our main container. You can see there's our video. There's a placeholder inserted in there for us. Let's select the video, come over to content and change this ID. Get rid of that. And we're going to use media for this example. And we're going to select our file because this is already uploaded to our own server. So there's the Shots.so file we created. We'll just insert that into our design. And you see that's now inserted the video flush at the bottom. And because we've put this sort of mesh gradient behind it, we get a level of separation that allows us to kind of keep the same kind of color scheme, but allow us to also have a nice little bit of separation. Now, obviously, there's a few things we need to deal with here. We don't want things like the play button and things. We want all this to be playing automatically because this is a kind of sales header. So what we're going to do, the nice thing about working with bricks is we've got full control over this. We'll set autoplay, we'll set loop, we'll set mute, even though there's no audio in this. We'll set it just to make sure. And we're going to say we don't want any of the controls. So now what we end up with is we get this animated hero section that's a video, but people wouldn't necessarily know it's a video. So it's a nice way of incorporating this into our overall design. Now, if you enjoyed this kind of content and you'd like to be kept up to date, why not hit that subscribe button down below? And then every time a new video is uploaded, you'll get a notification. Anyway, with that being said, let's get on with the video. So making sure we still have the video selected, let's go and add in a drop shadow to give it that little sense of depth and to also round those top corners off a little bit. Even though you can't really see them that well here, I just think it adds a little bit of polish to the overall design. So with the video selected, we're going to come over into our style section, and from there we're going to come into our borders. We'll select our border option. We're not going to link these together because it's only the top two corners we want. So we can set the first top left. Now I'm using core framework for this, but you could put whatever arbitrary values you want in if you're not using a CSS framework. This just speeds up the whole process. I'm going to set this to be medium. And we're going to do the same thing again. This is one of the little frustrations. It would be nice if when you open one of these dialog boxes up and you inserted a value, the bricks actually retained that and kept it open until we chose to close it down. That would be quite nice to see. So let's do the same thing again, set our radius to medium. Now you probably can't see it that well, but there is a nice little rounded corner on there. Next up, we're going to add in a box shadow. Now I'm using advanced thema, so I've got some preset shadows, but you can simply come into the little pencil icon, set up your X, Y values, your blur, your spread, and so on to make this look exactly how you want. I'm just going to show you this way because it's just so much quicker. Choose a preset. We're going to go and grab something that has quite a sense of depth to it. Something like this looks pretty good, so we'll just say quick apply, and now we should have a drop shadow applied to this. So now with our drop shadow in place, we now have an extra little sense of depth. Again, you can get as creative as you want here. So now our video is all taken care of and everything we want there is all done. The next thing I want to do is add in our call to action text and our download button to kind of tell people what we want them to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up, select our section, and from there we're going to add in another container. We want to separate the container with the video with the container with the actual text in. So let's just position that where we want it, which is above the video container. So now we've got space for our text. So let's just go and add in a couple of text items. So 2 headings inside there, and we're going to pop in a button as well. Obviously you can't see anything at the moment, so let's just change that over. Now you could, and what I would recommend if you were doing this for real, is you start using proper global CSS styling where relevant. You know, I'm just doing everything at the ID level just for speed and brevity, but I would recommend that you do take your time and apply the relevant classes and so on to this. So updating it, maintaining it as you move forward is just a lot easier. Okay, so let's select our first heading and let's just make sure we can see it. So we'll come into our typography and just set this to be white. So now we can see that heading. We'll do the same for the second one. We'll apply the white there. We'll just choose our button. You can see that's already selected and pulled in some colors. So what we're going to do is select our container that has all our headings in. We'll set the alignment on here. Once we've done that, we're going to just come in and we're going to apply some row gap. So let's just give some spacing. Something like that looks pretty good. Actually, let's go for XS. And now let's select our first one, set this to be H1. Our second one, set this to be H2. So semantically, they are correct. And now we can drop in whatever text we want. Here's our basic text. Now let's just go and style this. So what we need to do is just select the first one, come into our styles, choose our font size. Let's try something like 4XL. We'll change the weight. 600 looks pretty good. And let's set this to be capitalizing each word. And then finally, let's go to the second, our subheading section. And what we're going to do here is we're going to make this considerably smaller. Something like XL looks pretty good. And anything else you may want to change, you can do there as well. Finally, let's sort our button out. So let's select that, put in the text we want, and we'll just come over to our content and we'll add an icon for download. There we go. Come to our styling for our fonts. Make this medium so it stands out a little bit better. There we go. Now, obviously, you can style this any way that you want to. And all we need to do now is add a little bit of spacing in. So we'll select our section. We'll come back over into our content area, into our row gap. And let's apply some space here. Now, we want a nice bit of breathing room, but not too much. We'll go for XL. And we'll come back into our other section. We'll grab our button. And we're going to give ourselves a bit of breathing room above that as well. So again, let's come into our margins. Let's apply some space there. Let's say maybe space L. And the final thing we want to do is grab our entire section and give ourselves a little bit more space. So we're going to do our padding at the top, 4XL. We could go a bit bigger than that. So what we'll do is we'll just use calc and we'll just multiply this by 1.5. There we go, that gives us a bit more space. So now what we've created is we've got our new video-based hero section with a mesh gradient in the background. We've got this animation effect. We've got a drop shadow to give us a sense of depth. We've got our call to action, our download button. Everything is in place. Now, none of this is intense rocket science. It's all pretty simple and straightforward. But when you combine them all together, you're going to get these pretty good looking effects. These are the kinds of things you see on lots of modern websites these days. And you could easily add some animation effects inside here. So your titles and everything slide in or transition in whatever way you want. The video maybe animates it in a certain way. There's so many ways in which you can take this to a different level. Now, if you want to find out more about working with CSS, you can check out this video next. This is going to be another way of creating eye-catching websites. As always, all applicable links are in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.